Hello everyone. Today we are going to discuss the low-level design of a text editor. A text editor is something like Microsoft Word, or it can be like Windows WordPad. Uh, Basically, there will be a text document and you can add multiple characters or strings to it, and each character can have their own unique style in terms of the font used, the whether the text is bold or it is italic or it is underlined, and it will have a font size, those parameters. This question has been asked multiple times in Amazon HD1 interviews. It has also been asked in Microsoft Level 60 software engineer interviews. In Microsoft Level 60, it's something like your HD1 position. And this question has also been asked in Google L3 interviews. Again, in Google also, the L3 position is your HD1 position, similar to that. What we will do is we are going to go through the whole problem statement which is on CodeZym. This is question number 9, and we will go through all the different methods that we need to implement, and then we will discuss how we can use Flyweight design pattern to solve this question efficiently in terms of memory. Then we are going to write our code in Java and test it on CodeZym editor. Also, we do not need to add any of our main method or add any test cases. CodeZym testing engine has all of that covered. If you are new, I will suggest that you go through these important notes and watch this YouTube video getting started with CodeZym. Important notes have got things like if you are declaring an interface, then you have to declare it above class solution. Basically, it will save you from many compilation errors, uh, basic mistakes that one does. So let's go ahead and see. Starting with the problem statement, this is question number 9 on CodeZym. We have got a text editor, or basically a text document which can have any number of rows and any number of columns. And each character in the document can have their own style. And the style parameters are basically font name, font size, bold, and italic. Now, if you have used or might have used Microsoft Word, WordPad, or any other editor, then you will notice that they have got many other styles also. Like the character can have its own color, or it can be underlined, or instead of a character, it can be an image, or it can be a part of URL for a video. But here, for this question, we will stick with only these parameters: the character itself, the font name, its font size, whether the character is bold or italic. So these are the things. Now let's see the methods which we need to implement. There are total 5 methods. The first one is init. Init is sort of our constructor or initializer, you can say. It has a helper object which you will use for logging. Now if you use system.out.println, then your logs will not be visible. So you should use helper.print or helper.println. The important method, first important method you can say, is the add character. Basically, it asks you to add a character ch to a row and column, and it also gives the style information or style parameters for the character, which can be a font name. Font name can be something like Tahoma, Times New Roman, Algerian, etc. A font size, something between 12 and 22, whether the character is bold or whether the character is italic. Taking an example, let's say in row 0, 4 characters ABCD are already added. We add a new character at column 2, that is A, B, and C. So at present C is at position 2. So what we will do, the new character P will be added at position 2, and C and D will be pushed one place each to the right side. So the new string becomes ABPCD. Now what if there are more rows than less rows and then row? Let's suppose till now we have added only one row and the value of row is 3. So what we'll do is we will append extra rows and then go ahead and add the character in row 3. Now what if there are fewer columns added? Let's say we have got 3 characters added only, 0, 1, 2 columns number until column number 2 ABC, and the add character method is called with a column number 6. In this case, what we will do is we will add the new character just at the end of this string. So this, even though the column number is 6, the final character will get appended at last, that is A, B, C, and E. This is how the add character method will work. Next method is getStyle, which returns the character and the style information. So J is the character added, Arial Black is the font name, 14 is the font size, bold if the character added was bold, and italic if the character added was italic. If the character added was not bold, then you can see that here bold is missing. If there is no character at row or column, or row and or column are out of bounds, then we will return an empty string. After that, we have to implement readline, which actually returns all the characters in the row as a string. For example, A, B, C and D are added, so it will simply return them as a string. The final method that we need to implement is the delete character. So if there is no character at row or column, and row and column, or either row or column are out of bounds, then it will return false. Else it will return the character at row column and return true. For example, row 0 is ABCDE and we have to delete the character at second position. So final string will become C gets deleted 0, 1, 2. So C gets deleted and the final string becomes A, B, D and E. Before we start working on the solution, what we have to do is we have to copy this default code and then save it in our local laptop or desktop as solution.java. Now, once we save it at a .java file, so we can start editing it in our local code editor, which can be IntelliJ, Visual Studio Code, anything which you are comfortable with. This is question number 9 on CodeZym. If you are new to CodeZym, just to start, just watch this video getting started with CodeZym. So these are the all 4 methods or 5 methods that we need to implement. There is init, there is add character, there is a get style, there is read line, and finally there is delete character. So let's go and see how we can solve this problem. Now in any text editor, the number of characters can be very large. For example, a large document may have even 1 million characters. But the number of styles which we use is generally very limited or very small. We don't tend to use 100 200 more than 100 200 styles in a single document. In fact, if you see in a single word or in a single line, the styles of all the characters is actually uniform or same, you can say. So since our number of styles is in just a few thousands or 500 to 1000, so we can use Flyweight design pattern to save memory or be memory efficient in solving this question. So what Flyweight design pattern does is it divides the whole thing into two parts. The first one is intrinsic data, which is constant data which does not change. In our case, the character, font name, font size, bold and italic, these parameters are sort of constant or they are limited. The character is from a limited set, the font name is also limited, font size can be from 12 to 22, bold and italic has got two values, true or false. So these will be the part of intrinsic data. And then there is data which can change, which is the row and column. In each row and column, characters can be added or they can be deleted. So based on this, we will be putting all the intrinsic or the constant data in a Flyweight object and using a Flyweight object factory or Flyweight factory to create that Flyweight object. And that data will, or the Flyweight object will be shared among all the objects or all the characters which have got that property or that style, you can say, in this thing. So let's see how it saves memory or makes us memory efficient. Let's see an example to understand it better. Let's suppose we have a document which has got 1,000,000 characters. Now to represent one character and its style, we need around 15 to 20 characters, which is the character itself, the font name, the font size, whether it is bold or whether it is italic. So to represent 1,000,000 characters, we need 20 into 2, 40 bytes per character. So 40 into 1,000,000. This will come something around 30 to 40 MB. Now, what if you used is Flyweight design pattern? So there are, let's suppose 10,000 styles in the whole document, which is a lot. Typically in a document, you don't see 500,000 styles or more. So 10,000 styles is quite a lot. For this 10,000 styles, the memory taken will be 10,000 into 40 MB uh, per character or per unique style, you can say. So this will be 40 byte into 10,000, which will be 400 kilobytes. Plus we will need to store the reference variable for each character. Actually, instead of a character, we will be storing the reference variable for that given style. In Java, the size of a reference variable is 4 bytes. So it's 4 into 1 10 to power 6, 4 MB. So if you are using or storing or sharing common data or constant data using Flyweight design pattern, then overall memory consumption will be 4.4 MB. So rather than using 30 to 40 MB memory, we are just using 4.4 MB. So we are using 1 by 8 or 1 by 9 times the memory. So it's quite memory efficient, you can say. In fact, this can be even more memory efficient. Let's take the game example. Or there is a famous computer game, war game, which is Age of Empires. So in that we have to show images of soldiers, images of buildings, weapons, and what's not. Let's assume we are using a 3D image or a GIF image to show a soldier's image, and its size is 100 KB. So to depict 1000 soldiers, you will have to use 1000 into 100 KB, that is 100 MB. So it just takes or eats away 100 MB of your RAM. But you will notice that there each soldier type has got a similar image, and there are a fixed number of soldier types. Let's assume there are only 10 soldier types. So what we will do is we will only use the styles of these soldiers and share them among all the soldiers. So how much memory the style for these soldiers will take? It will be 10 into 100 KB, that is 1 MB, and plus 4 KB, which will be the number of flyweight references, that is 4 bytes into 1000, 4 bytes for each reference variable in Java, and there will be some overhead. So overall it will be hardly 1.02 MB or 1.03 MB, while if we did not use the sharing of data or flyweight pattern, then we would have just consumed 100 MB from RAM. So you can see it is a lot or quite space efficient or RAM or memory efficient, you can say. Now here generally 1000 into 100 KB is not 100 MB, it's a bit less. 1024 into 100 KB is on 100 MB. But just to make the calculation a little less complex or easier for people to understand, I have made it 1000 into 100 KB equal to 100 MB. It's accurate enough, maybe not totally completely accurate, but it is accurate enough that you get the idea. The first thing which we need is a flyweight object, which will keep all the constant data. So we have the char flyweight class, which keeps the character, font name, font size, whether the character is bold and whether the character is italic. So these are the parameters which we will keep as intrinsic data or the constant data which will be shared across objects. It has got two important methods: getChar, which simply returns the ch. This will be used in the readline method in the solution class. And the second method is getChar and style, which returns character and the style, that is font name, font size, bold and italic information, all connected using a hyphen. This method will be used in the getStyle method from the class solution. After the flyweight object, we also need a factory which produces or creates that flyweight object. So we have the char flyweight factory here. It creates the style or the style which is actually the char flyweight object, and it caches all the flyweight objects in a hash map. A string is the unique key which we saw. So how does it creates the key? It basically appends the character, its font name, font size, and whether the character is bold or italic. Once that unique key is created, it checks, and if that key doesn't exist in the map already, then it creates a new flyweight object for representing that style and adds it to the map against that key. And finally, if it already exists or it has added, it fetches the flyweight object, char flyweight object, and returns its value. So this way, if multiple characters have got the same style, then they will get the reference for the same char flyweight object. So to summarize, here are all the classes that we will be using. We have the class solution, which is actually the part of the default code, and we have to fill all its methods. Then we just saw the flyweight object, which will keep the constant style data, which will be shared across objects or the characters who have got the same style. We have the flyweight factory, which actually creates this flyweight object. And finally, we have the text row class. So basically, any document or text document, you can think it as a collection of rows or list of rows. So we will see the text row class next. Our text row class is just an wrapper over array list. So it's basically an array list of Flyweight, and it has the methods to add character at a given column or given position, to get that Flyweight object, to return all the Flyweight objects as a list of a string, and to delete the character from a column. The one method which we needed custom implementation was the add character, where you have to delete a character from middle and then push the remaining characters which were onto the right to the one place left, so that the empty space can be filled. We will see its implementation as we move on. Now let's take a top-down approach and see the methods in class solution one by one. You do not need to do anything with the init method. You can leave it as it is, or you can do these initializations in the init method. Either way. So the first method is add character. You have to add a character at a given row and column, and also save its style information, that is the font name, size, bold and italic. So what this add character does is, if the number of row or the row is greater than the existing number of rows, then it adds additional rows. Next, what it does is it uses the factory to create the style which we saw in the factory class. Factory either creates a new style or returns an already created one. Then what it does is it fetches the given row where this character has to be added, and it calls the add character method to add the Flyweight reference variable. This style is actually a Flyweight object which will be shared, and calls the add character to add this Flyweight to a given column. Inside the class text row add character method, all the Flyweight objects are stored in an array list data. So it appends the Flyweight object to the end, and then it keeps moving it towards the left until we reach column. So the effect is, what happens if we have got only three characters added, 0, 1, 2, and we have to, the add character is method is called with the parameter of column number 6. So the final character will simply be appended to its last. We will not be adding spaces or something. We'll simply append it to the last. So the string from ABC becomes ABC and E. So this is how the add character method works. Next method in class solution is getStyle. So basically it fetches the character itself, hyphen the font name, which can be Tahoma, Times New Roman, Algerian, etc. The hyphen, then the font size, hyphen whether character is bold, hyphen whether character is italic. So first of all, it checks whether the row is inbound or not. If it is out of bounds, then it returns an empty string. Then it tries to fetch the Flyweight object from the text row class. So text row class again does the same check for column. If the column is out of bound, then it returns null, else it returns the Flyweight object. If the Flyweight object returned is null, then we return an empty string. Else we call the getChar and style method from the Flyweight object, which we saw earlier, and which returns the actual style. So how it works is, the getChar and style method, it simply appends all the parameters in the Flyweight object and returns as a string. So the parameters are character, font name, font size, whether the character is bold or whether the character is italic. So this is how it works. Next method in class solution is readLine. So basically it reads all the characters from a row without their style information, simply as a string. So if the row is out of bounds, then we return an empty string. Else we get the list of all Flyweights or the Flyweight object references that are in those row. The text row, it simply returns the data, which is actually a list of Flyweight object references. Once we have the Flyweight objects, we know that the Flyweight object has got a getChar method, which simply returns the character which is there. So we create a character array and fill it with one by one with all the Flyweight objects in this Flyweight list and return it as a string. So this is quite a simple method, you can say. The last method in class solution is delete character. So it tries to delete a character at row and column. If the row is out of bounds, then we return false, that is no character has been deleted. Else what it does is it tries to get that row and calls the delete character method there. In a given row, it first checks in the class text row, it first checks whether the column is out of bounds. If the column is out of bounds, then it returns false. Else it removes the Flyweight object reference from that column and return true. So this is how this one works. Now our coding work is complete. So let's go ahead and test this code in the CodeZym editor. But before we do that, let's come down here and comment this helper code. So we had actually uncommented this code so that it will help us in editing our code in local and avoid any compilation errors. So let's just go ahead and comment it. Select all, Control A, Control C, and let's paste it in the editor. So now let's run it. Once we run it, it will compile and it will run. Right now it is compiling source code. Now one test case, sample test case was there which passed. So let's submit all the test cases. So what it is going to do is it will compile the source code, and as the test cases run more and more, you can see the number of test cases changing here. So it will pass all the test cases in just a few moments. Now all test cases have passed and it took around 25 seconds. So we know that our code was indeed correct. Seeing your code run and pass all the test cases gives you the confidence that if you are able to do it now, then if you get this or a similar question in an interview, then you will be able to do well there also. What I will do is I will put all this code in a blog and put the link to the blog in the description section and in the pinned comments. If you want to discuss anything about this question or any other questions on CodeZym, then feel free to ping me on my LinkedIn. I will drop my LinkedIn ID in the description section. Also, I wish you the best of luck for your interview preparation and wish you get the job and the salary that you are looking for. Keep trying other questions from CodeZym and keep improving. Thanks for watching.